so hard.
You got to know now.
Ooh, taking it too far.
Nothing to hold now.
I'm falling apart.
Out in the cold now.
Breathing underwater. Breathing underwater now. I can't let go.
I do not know what is wrong with my Twitch, but this thing's stuttering like all hell. The VOD that's on right now. It's fine.
And yeah, due to this backpack, I'm gonna win today and every week now.
That is amazing and
Oh, and
very
apparently we haven't
appropriate.
had any sound
Because
on
if
the
you're
interview
going to
anyway,
summit
so
a
let's
mountain,
just call this done, shall we? Because it's
kind of need a
clearly
backpack
not
with
working.
all your supplies and stuff.
Well, that's no
very
go.
fitting
That's
with
no
your
go.
name.
Okay, well,
Sebadom,
that
you
happened.
seem very
I
confident.
believe
Are
we have
you?
sound
Are
on,
you?
It won't stop. Kill it with fire. Right.
Kill it.
Kill
well.
it with fire.
We tried to do a fancy thing, and once again, it did not work. So I have no
This
idea
is why
why
we can't have nice things.
Right? Every time, every single time, I try and do something fancy production-wise. It works absolutely fine when I test it. And you know what it is? I didn't test it while I was in a Skype call.
You know, that's
Skype
a good point.
just kills my OBS for some
Ah.
unknown, godforsaken reason. Yes,
Rip
we all know
processor.
you have
Did
a
you-
backpack.
Did you
The
need a
backpack?
backpack, Silent? I have some
I
important
was reading
things.
what it said on the front at the same time, and all I saw was the port. So, oh well. Anyway, never mind.
Oh, man.
Hello, I'm Silent Echo. Got Curtis underneath me as per usual. Sophona's over that side. Every time the wrong way round as well. You'd think I'd be able to use like the doorway that's on the screen in front of me to orientate which side everybody is, but clearly not. And
Right.
Directionally challenged he is.
yeah, this is episode 7 of Rocket Powered Report. How's everyone doing?
He's not numerically challenged. It is indeed the 7th episode.
All right. I conveniently said on the show that Silent and I do on the side that apparently we were on episode 7, thinking that I was already in the future and that I was doing today's RPR.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that was true. That was something that happened on Tuesday last week in Level Up.
God,
Village,
good.
So
that was so terrible.
yeah,
That's good.
that wasn't
That's good.
fun. That wasn't fun. But we've got a lot to talk about today.
Yes, we do.
I'm doing my hosting voice. Can you tell?
Yeah.
hosting.
First
Know
things
what
first,
that's
though,
about.
Sebadom.
Well,
The
yeah,
interview
Sebadom.
we
Yeah, of course.
attempted to show.
So we just tried to show what is now this proclaimed. They've peaked. They might as well never do a player interview again because they did it, guys. It's done. It's over. We can all go home. There's no need to have moments where Espion looks blankly at his screen waiting for somebody to talk to him and nobody ever does. We can just
Right.
move on to never doing that because Sebadon freaking killed it.
Yeah,
What a
best
legend.
player interview that I have ever seen in RLCS. In basically, there I don't know that there's any player interview that could have outshined that in any sport, esport, whatever. That was a lot of fun, and I laughed until I cried, possibly peed a little. It was good stuff.
I thought what was really funny was like at first his whole interview sequence was just hilarious. You know, just started casually by just taking out Jesse and Fletcher's name and just being like, "Yep, my back's sore just from carrying both of them." And someone made this joke, and I don't know if it was between us talking about it or someone else said this, but it was like at least they were all in all caps, so they weren't that devalued.
I think that was silent. If I'm not right, if I'm right,
Was that Silent? Was
I
that
think
you,
that
man?
was silent.
What was it?
I
I
remember-
don't remember that for sure.
I don't know if you said something about the fact that all of there were when he showed the papers that they were all still in full like all caps, so at least they weren't that insignificant.
Well, yeah, I mean,
No,
the thing
you know
is,
what?
I think
No,
that
it
he
wasn't.
just
It was
needed more
Lawler.
ink on the page so that the bag weighed more, so it was more equivalent to what he'd been doing. But in all seriousness, I can't remember the stats off the top of my head, and I don't have them in front of me. But Flarkey has something like a 0.4 goals per game. Jesse has like 0.17 goals per game, and Sebadom has like 1.57
Yeah.
per game. So he's not wrong.
No, he's not. Do you want to throw your teammates under the bus like that? I mean, as long as there's good humor in it and they understand. I mean,
All I
over it.
hope is that he intentionally told his teammates he was going to do that, because if he didn't, I'm really curious what the conversation would have been, especially after the fact they lost.
Are you kidding?
Yeah,
If
they
if
then
that
got
was me,
steamrolled.
and let's be honest,
Yeah.
he also is in the UK, and therefore humor is dry over here, guys. Like, we don't have that kind of Floridian humor that you guys have, where everything is wet constantly. But Like that, what I would have done was not tell my teammates, and then also not reference it at all, and then enjoy watching the post VOD with them, where they're like, "Oh, what did you say in the interview?" It's like, "Oh, wouldn't you like to know?"
You son of a. Oh, that would have been good
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, this the sheer
Cheek.
humor in that was then taken away by the fact that Summit then got steamrolled 2-0 or 3-0, then 3-0.
too. Yep.
Which was kind of rough. But ultimately, yeah, as far as interviews of RLCS, I think that wins hands down. And that's going to be one to go after if you wanted to try to make a joke of it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yep. So yeah, good stuff from Sebadon. Good stuff from Axel Toss, who handled that about as professionally as you possibly can.
What you mean? He just didn't handle it at all because
Yeah.
how in God's name are you supposed to handle that? Like, there's no way to handle that. Like as an interviewer, I've done interviews, but fortunately they've all been offline for the most part.
Right.
But I've never had to deal with anything like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Axel Toss after the broadcast goes off, I didn't sign up for this.
Right.
What happened?
We'll just see him gone, and we'll see.
Golden Boys
I
get
wonder
docked.
if he was like even upset about it because I mean it wasn't like as if anything that he did was contradictory or sparked something that shouldn't have been inappropriate. I'm sure.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's
highlight.
just like, how do you deal with that? Like, as
I just
somebody
want to
who
know
was-
if someone's going to try to top him now in these interviews because
Oh, I
I mean
hope
a bar's been said now. Either you're going to be really boring and they're just not going to they're going to zone out and not care about you,
Yeah.
or they're going to be like Sebadom. And I love what Carpet said was like every viewer that is currently in chat right now, he just earned that many fans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no doubt.
For sure.
There is no doubt. And now that I'm thinking about it, that Caps joke, that was Lawler that made that joke on the desk.
So
I'm pretty
you
sure.
equate me to Lawler?
Well, I'm pretty sure that was not you that made that joke. It was Lawler who
No,
made
no,
the
but you
original
thought
joke.
that I had made that joke, and now you
I mean,
decided
your
it's
sense of
Lawler,
humor is
so-
pretty good. Your
so-
sense of humor is very
Okay.
good. So, there's that.
Well, I'm fine with being equated to Lawler. I've got no problems with that. So
Very good.
I'm just re-leveling us a little bit because I think we're a little
Yeah,
out
that's
of
fine.
balance. Yeah, we're a lot out of balance. So here we
No
go.
problem.
Right. So let's move on then. So update tomorrow, guys, or today for me.
Yeah. Aquadome.
Yes.
Aquadome is coming, and
Once again, I'm
lives
upset that it's
underwater?
not a wasteland skin.
Would have been nice. Would have been nice.
I like the point that you made when we talked about this update, Silent. That I kind of wish that it actually was a little bit of like Wasteland's design to it, because I mean, you're in the aqua, or you're in the aqua.
You're
What?
in the aqua.
You're-
That other realm where the
like-
Argantians live.
Well, I wonder like if that would have maybe made Wasteland not as unbearable as everybody claims it to be, is if they made a reskin for that, because it's like, oh, it looks so beautiful. Wow, I didn't realize that a Wasteland kind of map could actually turn out this well. But they decided to make it standard, and honestly, I can understand, just because I'm sure they really. Am I correct on saying this? They haven't really added a new standard map in a
Not
while,
since
so I'm sure
Utopia.
this is
Not
just
since
making
Utopia.
people satisfied.
And Utopia was long ago.
Utopia was like within their first year.
That's 8
so
months
that's
ago.
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't drop that until I think the first major update when the first cars came out. Pretty sure. So, but either way, yeah, I mean, it is a standard map, which much to the chagrin of Silent and even myself to a point, I like the standard maps, but I understand for the longevity reasons why they should not be doing as many standard maps. So,
Well, maybe we'll talk about
maybe
how
what we'll
Utopia benefited one of the groups this time.
Maybe what we'll get is a whole set of water maps.
That would be pretty
I'd be okay
sick.
with that.
Because at the end of the day, right, they've put a lot of development time into making this map underwater. Like, that's not easy to do. Water's
right.
a really, really annoying thing to work with in games. And okay, to some extent, they can just like do a 2D thing and parallax it, wrap it around the stadium. Like, you can do stuff like that, but I'm interested to see what level they've gone to in terms of like polys outside of the map. I'm also interested to see what people's frame rates are like, because I know some people who can't play Chaos on Utopia.
Countering that, when Wasteland first came out, there was a lot of people that had frame drops on that
Oh,
as
yeah,
well
yeah,
before they had to do a
fixed
major
that.
optimization.
Yeah,
So
it
that
went
is
through a
also
major
something.
optimization, but like, let's not forget that Wasteland has. I mean, have you ever broken out of that map?
I've heard of people that have.
You got.
I
I
haven't.
personally haven't.
Neither of you guys have. Okay, so I have. Guys, there is more stuff outside that stadium that you cannot see from anywhere in that stadium than there is in the stadium. There's a freaking crashed spaceship out there and everything. Like
Okay.
there is probably, I would say, 10 times as many polys outside of the map as there is in the map.
I have yet to see this, and I would like to see it. I'm sure there's
It'll be on
YouTube
YouTube.
videos out there.
Somebody's videoed it for sure. I found the edge of the map. It takes a long time to get there on 10 times boost, I'll tell you that, but you know. We went and put it on low grav, 10 times boost. You have to like clip through the wall just right in this like certain spot. But yeah, no, it's a whole thing. But you can't.
Is it one of those where you get through the wall and you can't get back in?
You can get back in. Usually, you get back in when you don't want to. But I know people who've glitched through the floor as well, right on the join where the edge slopes meets the side and a flat middle bit. I've seen people glitch through there, but they've fixed most of that stuff now. So yeah, the Aquadome update is also bringing a new crate. So
yes,
thoughts on
C3
the fact that
crates.
we have a new crate?
Yeah.
I would like to start out by saying if anybody has a breakout import and they would be willing to give it to me or trade it for me or trade with a Dominus GT, I will be happy to do so. As strange as that sounds, I really would like to get that one just because I freaking love the design of it.
Breakout's your usual card. Isn't it?
Funny thing is I have the most wins with Dominus, but I feel like I'm more comfortable when it comes to a flatter card to a breakout.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm one of those people that like, it depends on what I feel when I go and first start playing. It's like if I can't flip anything with an Octane, I'm usually just gonna move to the breakout or the Dominus. Like that's just how I've usually played.
Well, it's interesting as well because as you move further up the ranked ladder, I think that there is to some extent a meta game in terms of what tactics work on a given day and at a particular time.
Right.
And obviously the cars have different abilities and capabilities within those tactics. So I think that at some point we are going to see more car tech choices within teams, like as we move away from sheer mechanics to strategy. But we've kind of had that discussion before. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be good. I think this is about right. If they keep adding crates at this kind of rate, then I'm going to be very happy with the idea of crates because it's not like, you know, the first two crates are only just getting stale for people, I think, and for a lot of casuals they won't be stale at all. So even, you know, if somebody who plays as many hours as I do isn't kind of jaded by the idea of these two crates yet, and I still open, not all of the ones that I get, but some of them. I bought some more keys the other day, and then they announced that there was new crates right after I opened 5. Damn it! But yeah, I think that there's definitely a good pace if they can keep it up over the course of
definitely something to be said. I'm excited about it.
So speaking of non-standard maps, we had some non-standard map action in the RLCS again this week.
Yes, Summit.
And
I'm sorry, Oh My Dog.
No,
Oh My
Summit
Dog
last
actually
week.
picked it.
This week it was
Summit
Oh My
last
Dog
week.
and G2.
Yep, absolutely. The nice part about Oh My Dog, though, is they were the first team to pick a non-standard map and win the game that they picked it on.
And that's not just in this season. That's across all of RLCS's history, long as it is.
Right.
Wait. Are we talking about in terms of Neo Tokyo itself? Because I know
Neo Tokyo or Wasteland.
Forgive me if I'm incorrect, but did not in season 1.
Nope.
Played on They didn't play on Wasteland.
No, they played on Wasteland, but nobody ever won when they picked
IBP was like almost perfect when they played on Wasteland in season 1.
But they weren't the ones that picked it. Like this is the
didn't?
important thing.
I thought this was their big thing.
No, the people who picked Wasteland never won on it. And now, for the first time, somebody has picked an non-standard map and won on it. Yay!
Yeah.
No, because the big thing about IBP was that they were great on Wasteland, but people were picking Wasteland to try and upset them. That was what was going on in season 1.
Yep.
So
And then they were getting very upset and very tilted when G2 or when in that case IVP would come and win anyways.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
But yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed watching the pros, deal with Neo Tokyo and that kind of stuff. Like I think it's fantastic. I think it's a whole different play style.
Great stuff.
Right.
And to tell you the truth, I mean, oh my dog, they won the series in that particular setting. So I mean, perhaps that Neo Tokyo game actually was the difference there.
Well, it's definitely a good pick for map 3 because at that point they were tied up in the series.
Yeah.
So so that's they did it. They beat Northern Gaming in the first game, and okay, that's great. But it's the first game of the day. It might be a fluke. Then they lose the second game, and it's like, well, what do we do now? Oh, okay, let's take Neo Tokyo out for a spin, and it works out. They get it. They do it. They did it. Yay.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, it was great. It was good to see kind of the potential of Neo Tokyo because I'd get nowhere near that potential as far as when I play on it for obvious reasons. And to see the pros and how they handled it, it gives some ideas. Not to say I'm going to execute any of those ideas, but it gives some ideas of exactly what you can do on Neo Tokyo, which just
we haven't even come close to discovering what we can do on Neo Tokyo yet.
That's fair. Yeah.
Right. I'm still waiting for. I would love to see the style of team play where you start playing this a little bit more of a short ball and then just progressively move it down the field, kind of like in an actual soccer form, which would be I would love to see that personally. I don't know about you.
Europeans are a lot better at something like that than the Americans because I see a lot of short.
Speaking of that, what was it? Who was it that had the highlight play? It was Market Aces that they had that four pass play in the span of about 4 seconds.
Oh yeah. You're right. I think it was Market Aces. I can't remember
somehow Waypunk recited it back perfectly. He's like, it went from Devo to blah back to Devo and then went in. And you just see the guy that was keeping it was just like, I don't know what's going on. He's going back forth.
In support of that as well, you've got Oh My Dog with their 0-second carry.
Oh yeah.
And that was literally Turbo up to a lot on the wall, a lot down to Dogu back to a lot, and then a lot to Dogu again for the finish, which was just bearing in mind the clock has already run out when Turbo hit it for the first time.
Right.
It's really, really impressive. So I'm really happy to start seeing that happen. The only thing that worries me slightly is that we might see a much deeper skew towards NA on the LAN side of things, because like as in NA being a little bit in the hole like they were last LAN, because they just don't execute passes in the same way. Like they pass, but it's not in the same way. It's not like a Flipside or a Northern Gaming or
I'll absolutely agree with that. The thing with NA is that there's a lot more of the long clears that we don't necessarily get a lot of from EU. And generally speaking, if the long clears get counted at the half line, they lose possession back immediately. And so if they tried the short passes more, it would definitely be to their benefit. But I think EU is definitely a little more advanced in that way.
Well, it's about controlling possession. So you guys don't really have a national sport that's about possession.
Yeah. Other than maybe hockey, that's about it.
Hockey, kind of, but not really.
I would actually disagree. You could still actually make that argument that it is predominant. Well,
hockey's much more of an interrupt sport. I mean, like football's all about possession. I'm going to continue to call it football, no matter the fact that we're doing this at Eastern time. But
that's fine.
But football is all about possession, and rugby is all about possession. Rugby league, maybe not so much, but that's not the sort of popular played all over the world version. So, and you've got other things like field hockey as well is all about possession, because you've got a large field and you've got a lot of players on it. Lacrosse is all about possession, although that's not really a UK sport. Denmark's huge on handball, also a possession game. So, whereas you tend to have sports like baseball where possession is irrelevant. Basketball, where turnovers are like a huge deal, and a lot of the time it's one play and then reset, and then one play and then reset, and then the turnovers will be what decides the winner. Like whoever gets the most turnovers wins.
I think with the right teams, hockey can be a possession sport, but for the most part, I think you're
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
correct. It
it's a lot.
there's more
It's
often than not.
yeah,
It takes 2 or 3 passes to get out of your own end.
yeah. So,
So,
but then if you look at a football team, like they'll maybe take 12 passes before they,
oh yeah,
you know.
and they have no problem passing it back to their own net.
Oh yeah, it'll be constant constant
Mm-hmm.
passbacks, which is one of the
Right.
reasons that they had to change the rules back in the '60s so that the keeper couldn't pick it up afterwards.
Yep.
Because they just pass it back, you'd just grab it and then hoof it down the field again. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. We'll see how that works. So RLCS then. Let's sort of go over that. How did you guys find it? What are your
I
thoughts?
mean, the brooms were definitely brought out day one for NA,
Oh, yeah.
with the exception I think of one
NA
series.
made me vomit. EU made me PogChamp. That's probably
Yeah.
the shortest and easiest way I can.
Yeah,
keep it.
that
You
about covers
vomited
it.
on that nice clean floor they gave you?
That's the thing. When I vomited, it just was still clean. Like it was.
Oh.
You vomited
Yeah,
after
I
the first
vomit and
three
they'd be like, "Let me
games.
get that for you, sir."
After the first 3 series, you vomited, and then Series 4 came in and just cleaned it away again. So, yeah, it was pretty brutal, wasn't it?
Yeah, NA was pretty bad. With the exception, I mean, it was one of those. There was a couple of upsets. Like there was a couple of 3-0s that I didn't expect to go the way they did. As far as G2 still can't find their way out of the hole. For instance.
But you got to realize though that they played that at TwitchCon. Like they didn't play this at their own homes at their typical office suite. Like they played this out at a convention.
Here's my thought though. I feel like now 2 weeks in a row, and I get that they can be valid, but we're sitting here making excuses for G2.
I'm not making any excuses for them.
I was gonna say it's not really necessarily an excuse in this case.
In this case, I think it is a valid reason. So,
Right.
Okay.
so the thing is, right? So if you look at it this way, right, they had the move last weekend, so very little practice time, possibly the least amount of practice time that OverZero has ever had in his entire career of playing Rocket League, which I think is a huge deal. Like I go away for a day and I come back and I can't hit anything. Like, I can't imagine what it's like when you've got it so internalized to the level that he has to then break that habit. Must be insane. I mean, it's one of the reasons that in real sports, like rest days are a super important thing to just always have, and you have an off season and things like that because it helps you deal with not playing the game all the time.
Right.
Then you've got this whole TwitchCon thing where they're using setups that are unfamiliar to them, in an unfamiliar environment. I was kind of hoping that they would do better than they did at LAN, but I think that they've definitely got some serious problems that they need to work out, and I have faith that they will manage to do it. Like, I think they will be able to do it, but I think it's going to be really tough at this point. But they only have to get sixth, so...
Yeah, that's true. They only have to get 6 to get to the next phase, but they're putting themselves in a really bad spot. They basically, I think they have to win out for their next couple of. They have 4 games left at this point.
Yeah, but that's more than half.
Right. You could say, they have to now dominate everybody. And for the sake of their name right now as G2 itself, yes, they really should be dominating everybody. But it's not happening. And we need to start seeing them actually execute underneath a certain environment. And quite frankly, I just feel like it's right now they're entering into the scene silent, kind of like what you said, a little bit burnt out. At the same time, I also feel like this is just one of the things that they're just not, mentally focused and ready when they're actually playing their competitions.
So here's my kind of take on it. Right, G2 played Revival and Take 3 in the first week.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this week they played Exodus. Like, in terms of like playstyle counters, that's probably 2 out of two out of 3 of those teams I would call counters to G2's normal playstyle.
Mm-hmm.
Because Revival's a pretty measured team. They don't leave a lot of gaps at the back.
Right.
Take 3, same story. Exodus, depends on what day of the week it is. Like, if Moses shows up, then the whole team shows up. And Moses showed up, so like there's no doubt about the fact that Moses showed up over the weekend. Because they wrecked Take 3, let's be honest. I think that there's a really valid case to be made for G2 just not playing in their usual playstyle as well. So, because G2, okay, let's take it back a little bit further. Let's take it back to IBP, where it was a collection of 3 players who were all very good, and they didn't really do all that much as a team a lot of the time. And now they seem to be super focused on being a unit and a team and doing lots of passes and things like that. And I think that that's actually hurting them. I think they need to start doing more solo plays.
I want to go to Twitch chat real quick. Ninja Rider wannabe. They seem to lack the communication needed on top of the rotation not happening. They being G2. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
That's pretty much what I'm saying. I mean, they're
Yeah, I
they're
was
trying to
just gonna
play
say
too much as a team when they're actually used to doing
Right.
solo plays.
They're real. Well, the fact of the matter is, someone threw this out to me recently, and I just want to throw this to you guys, see what you think. You know, one of their things that they told me that they really weren't a big fan of G2 and their style was that G2 right now just doesn't seem to have the trust with each other. You know, they made a valid example of a moment where basically Kronovi in like 4 plays against Exodus in probably within 2 minutes overcommitted and, you know, would take a ball from over 0 and clear it out a different way, or a pinch that led to an own goal or something along those lines. And just kind of noticing that, you know, maybe there's just that level of distrust right now because, you know, they're noticing that they're not winning, obviously. And maybe this is just something that's kind of playing into it here.
Well, actually, I would almost entirely disagree with that because, for starters, like, that's nothing new. That's how they've always played.
Right.
If Kronovi thinks that he has a better angle on something, he's going to take the better angle, and Overzero will do the same, and so will Latch to some extent, although not quite as much, because Latch is usually way up the field doing God knows what.
Right.
But what I saw in G2's playstyle over the weekend, and what I saw in the previous week, is a lack of trust in themselves. I saw lots of occasions where I'd be like, Kronovi could have just dribbled that guy, and he didn't. He passed it instead. Overzero could have just taken it up the wall and gone for an air dribble, but he didn't. He passed it instead. And I was seeing lots of passes, and I was seeing more passes than I was used to seeing from G2, and it wasn't working for them.
And it's not something we saw when Gambit was there.
Well, I mean,
not to this extent, for sure.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not something that we saw with Gambit, but I mean, I think that the IBP team with Gambit was like a whole different kettle of fish. I mean, they didn't firmly get LAN season 1.
Right.
I think Overzero is a better player in the team than Gambit is, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Zero's shown to be a very, very worthwhile player to be on that roster, excuse me. So I can't just count him out for whatever it is. I can't just be we need Gambit back. No, this isn't what everybody does in rosters. I value Gambit as a great player, and I definitely think he is worthwhile to be a sub in the event that they feel like one of those 3 are not playing well. But I also see the factor that is it really worth, you know, investing to get Gambit back in when he had retracted on the competitive scene earlier. You know,
I'm going to give you guys 4 teams. I'm going to give you Deception, Genesis, NRG, and that is Vindicator. Those 4 teams are who G2 has left in their league play.
Yeah.
Realistic expectations for their record in those 4 games.
No problem against NRG. Deception's going to be a tricky one. I don't see Kings of Urban being Kings of Urban is NRG now. Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
NRG I don't see being a problem. Vindicator I don't see being a problem.
Yeah.
Deception are going to be tricky. Genesis, it depends on Genesis more than it
does that's a really good way of putting it.
So you're thinking 3-1, maybe 2-2?
Yeah, I think they can make 6th. They only have to make 6th. That's all they have to do.
Yep.
And
aside from that, you have Vindicator and Deception both only with 1 win, so they're only they're only a half game back right now, is what they are. Because you got Deception at 1-3, you have Vindicator at 1-2. They're only half game back of getting into contention for that.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Vindicator and Deception, like Deception's got tough matches ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've still got tough matches ahead of them. Like you think that they've had tough matches already? Who have they played? They've played Vindicator, which is a fairly new team on the scene. They've played Exodus. Okay.
They've got energy.
Exodus is a good match to have out the way at this point. Let's be honest. But
And they almost took that series.
oh yeah,
They
absolutely.
very nearly took that series.
They've already played
Um,
Genesis. They
yep.
beat Revival, like hands down. But they've still got Take 3, which I would argue is looking really hot right now. Although
Mhm.
they didn't do so well against Exodus and Revival, but I think that that's all to the good to some extent because I'm really seeing a lot of like sort of defined playstyles come to a head in these
Mhm.
series, and we are seeing sort of almost playstyle counters. And I'm really interested to see how that evolves in terms of strategy moving forward.
Right.
They've
But
got
in terms
KOU
of-
slash Energy.
Yeah, they've got NRG left to play, which is just they're going to get slaughtered. Like Deception is going to get wrecked by those guys.
And then the other one's G2.
They've still got to play
So.
G2. Yeah, I mean
Yep.
G2 is going to be a tough match for them. It will be a tough match for them.
Yep. There's going to be a tough
but
match for
I
both
think
sides.
that they will win it because of the possession. Like they keep possession.
They
So
do that.
Deception is
Right.
probably the only team in North America that I would actually rate as a possession team compared to like 4 in EU. Because I would say Oh My Dog, Summit, Precision Z, and Mocket are all possession teams
Hmm.
in a way that no other teams kind of are. And I say no other teams like there's more than half of them. but,
Right.
but yeah, I think it's super interesting.
Yeah.
And,
No doubt.
I agree with Alstedo as well in the chat. He's saying that G2, he hopes that G2 doesn't disband, but instead overcome their problems and become better. I think that like if there's ever a team that will stay together, it'll be that one. Like G2 has been a slowly evolving team, and it's one of the only teams that has been a slowly evolving team.
Yep.
Right.
They've never changed 2 players at once, as far as I'm aware.
The other team that
I
that
mean,
is
you
gonna be
could technically
Exodus.
say when they first were acquired by IBP that theoretically they like redid their roster, but
Well, yeah, but they've never changed 2 players at once. Because they went from Cosmic Aftershock, which was Cronovi, Sad Jr., and Gibbs, to Cronovi, Gibbs, and Gambit, right?
no. Gibbs played as a sub, and Chinio and Gambit had joined, so that was the only time they had 2. But until that point, there's only been, like you said, like one roster.
Either way, they've been consistently together for roughly 9 months now,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which in Rocket League terms is forever at this point.
Well, it's one of the
So-
only teams that I would count as an entity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just realised I'm a little...
Trying to think trying to see other matchups that we definitely need to zero in on.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Revival being 2-2. They've got Exodus, they've got NRG, and they've got Vindicator left. They could finish over 500 and definitely make the playoffs at this point.
Who's that? Revival?
Revival, yep. They've got Exodus left, they've got NRG, and they've got Vindicator. And those are their 3 games that are left. I think they can realistically go possibly 5-3, probably more realistically 4-4. And that could get them in the top 6.
4-4?
Yeah.
How would they go 4-4?
Or I'm sorry, no, it's sorry, no, 4-3.
Yeah, there we go.
So either they could go 5-2 or 4-3.
Yeah. I was wondering what you were going.
Sorry,
They
my
only
math-
have
my math's a
7
little
games, dude. They can't play
I'm sorry, it
themselves. Like
happens,
it's not
it
Mortal Kombat. Mirror match.
But yeah, I mean that's a team that's definitely. I mean they're to the point now. Granted, Exodus and NRG are going to be tough games. There's no doubt about it. But I definitely think they can take Vendetta / Vindicator.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I can't disagree. I mean, Vindicator are not looking good right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, much as I think the dropping of Lethamyr from the team was more of a clash issue than like both playstyle, personality, and behind the scenes clashes, rather than he's a bad player. I definitely think that you've got to have a chemistry between your teams.
Right.
I've actually had this conversation with Gibbs, only over text chat, but he was making a case that you could pretty much slot any good player into a team and it would work, and I just totally disagree with that.
Yeah,
personally.
no, I don't agree with that. I'm with you on that.
Mainly because everything that I'm seeing is showing that players that have strong synergy together win games. Like Revival is a great example of that. Geno Cop and Hot Wheels Sid just know where each other are at all times.
Right.
Realistically, I think Revival lose to Exodus. they win against Vindicator, and it's really going to come down to that Kings game.
I think Revival could win against Exodus.
You think they could?
Mm-hmm.
Exodus is tearing through everybody at the moment.
Yeah, I know, but I think Revival will be one of the games that they have trouble with because Revival are just very accurate.
Okay.
Like, as far as putting shots on net and those shots being on target, like, they're good at that. I think Genocop actually has one of the highest shot conversion rates right now.
Okay.
I need to go over all the stats again. I should be able to just reel this stuff off by. And can you tell that I haven't written any of my summary for NA yet? It's Tuesday tomorrow. It's supposed to be coming out. I don't think that's going to happen. So you heard it here first. Newsflash: Silent didn't do a thing because motivation was a problem today, and he was watching Luke Cage instead.
Oh, Luke Cage. Netflix problems.
So, speaking of people leaving teams, Lethamir has left Vindicator. Somebody else has left G2 without ever playing for them in a competition.
Yep, and I can't say I didn't see it coming given past events, but
Curtis, I want to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think about Squishy leaving?
I mean, at this point, I think I don't know if it was. We don't know honestly what goes on behind the scenes. For those that are unaware of what
we do
happened.
when people tweet it and then delete the tweet, guys.
Well, yeah, there's that. The issues came out kind of like this. I'm not going to go into any detail on it. We're just going to.
You can go to Reddit. It's still at the freaking front page.
Yep. Yeah, it's still getting comments, and yeah, it's he's definitely been shamed for it, and in my opinion, rightfully so. But it was either he leaves, in my opinion, or G2 sees him to the door.
Yeah.
Is kind of my estimation of how things possibly went.
Yeah, I think that he probably realized how much of an idiot he'd been, and then decided that actually he'd rather just leave on his own terms and make it easy for everybody.
That's one of those "I'm not fired, I quit" moments. Is kind of what I'm thinking in my head.
Well,
so.
I hate to quote Luke Cage, but you can't fire me. I quit before I walked in.
You don't hate to quote Luke Cage. Don't
no, of course I don't. He's a legend among men. Best thing about Jessica Jones, and now he's got his own TV series. Yay! And for some reason, I had it in my head that it was going to be a 6-episode series. 13 episodes. Over the moon. Can't believe it. But, so, other stuff to do with teams then. I know, Savannah, you got any thoughts on Squishy, real quick? Or I don't want to spend too much time. I
apologize if I'm missing something, but is there something that I'm just not aware of that was on Reddit that I'm missing?
Did you not see the giant mega thread?
Yeah, so okay, here's it in a nutshell. Ghost Boosters had an invitational tournament that was the culmination of several qualifier tournaments for $500 prize pool.
Okay.
Epic Johnny tried to use Squishy as a sub. This is a 2v2 tournament.
Okay.
Ghost Boosters decided that they weren't going to allow Squishy to be a sub because it was in the rules that they had to authorize all subs.
Right.
Because it would be breaking the sort of theme of the tournaments, which generally it's lower skilled players, and Squishy would be way above the threshold.
Right.
So Squishy pretended to be somebody else and played anyway.
I gotcha.
Yep.
So pretty much, okay, gotcha.
So then there was a tweet from Gambit saying that he wasn't happy being on a team with a cheater. Within like 2 hours, that tweet was deleted.
I don't know. Yeah. Was it even 2 hours?
I honestly, I don't know. It was 2 hours after I saw it that I realized that it had been deleted. So
yeah. All right. Thanks for the clarification on that. Yeah, I guess I just had missed that. And granted, I'm not as avid of a Reddit user I'd like to be. Something about real life that goes on, and I need to be on there more. But anyway, sorry.
I
getting
don't
on track
the
here.
concept.
No, IRL
this is real life.
Rocket League, right?
In Rocket League, yes, exactly. Yeah. I think that how this scenario happened, Curtis, you actually put that pretty spot on, where it was, I'm gonna leave before I get fired from it. I've had multiple coworkers do something like that before, where they sparked something really terrible, and before management found out about it, they were already quitting. So This is probably the same thing. I mean, you really don't want to spark off Gambit in this scenario. That's definitely something that I would just say. Well, I wouldn't want to have that scenario, because the thing is that if Squishy was to stay and was to be forced off the team, I don't know if this would have played the same scenario, but it would have been kind of like a Lethamir situation, but in a slightly different extent. I'm not sure if that's a great way of putting that.
I'm
But
not sure.
I think that the fact that he hasn't played for them makes it kind of just null and void and not that interesting to me.
Yeah, that's kind of that's kind
Yeah.
of
Like,
where
at
I'm
no
at, too.
point did he play for G2 in a competition.
right,
Who cares?
that's very true.
Yeah.
Like, they had a guy on their roster. He's no longer there. They were probably going to use Gambit as a sub anyway, because I don't see Squishy working all that well with, any two
Yeah.
of
I
the
think
remaining
the,
players. So
my opinion, I think, is the original reason they probably put Squishy on there was that in the event that if Gambit was to have kind of his issue that he had that led him to drop out before land on the first one, that they would have someone that they wouldn't have to search last second again. They got fortunate with over zero. I don't know if they could get and strike gold twice.
my understanding of the rules now is that they can't add anybody to their roster.
No. At
Like,
this
you
point, they're
can't
done.
remove somebody from your roster. You can say that they're no longer part of your team and they can't play, but they're still technically on the roster. Like, that slot is filled. So it's going to be Gambit or nobody. Hopefully it'll be nobody and they'll just play together.
Yeah.
Although this does
I'm fine with
raise a
that.
question. I can't remember if we spoke about it last week, but I'd be interested to know what your guys' thoughts are. Do you think that people should be subbing in their subs more often to get experience in the lower levels of the tournament? League play is a reasonably safe area. Like, a one loss isn't going to hurt you. Put your sub in, get them some experience in the team, in that competitive environment, see how they handle the pressure, and then if you do have an emergency and you need them at playoffs or, God forbid, LAN, they're not just, trying to swim without gills.
My thought on this goes to this. I think as you're trying to secure spots in standings, I think you have your top 3 out there. Otherwise, come garbage time. I think definitely a good idea to get your subs some games.
I'll
I
be
don't think
honest
there's
with
any
you.
doubt
I
about
actually really wish that. Is there a rule that you can play with your sub mid-series? You understand what I mean by that?
I
Have them
don't
sub in
believe there
mid-series?
is. I'm
In a best of,
90% sure there
I
isn't
really,
one.
I really would actually like to see that because I don't want just to have your sub play the entire set and then you guys lose and then all of a sudden there's tension about, oh, I should have played this game. It's
I
like
know
this.
that qualifiers they were not allowed to sub in mid-series.
Maybe if someone in chat could clarify this for me, if they can find it, but I would like to see that personally. I wish that you could just have your sub online and ready to go when it need be, because then you could give them the experience that way. Say that you're playing in a best of 5 and you're like up 2 and you bring in your sub and you're like, oh, substitution, come in, you play, and then we'll go from there. I really wish that was actually implemented because I really like that more personally. I wouldn't play them the whole series because if you lose that series, there's gonna be tension. I just know for a fact.
You can do it mid-series.
You can do it.
Can you?
A
Okay.
substitution is defined as changing a lineup after a match has started. Substitutions may only occur in between games of a match
Okay.
referring to the series,
Okay.
and are limited to 1 substitution per match. Substitutions
Okay.
are not allowed during the open qualifier, except in the event of a disconnect.
Gotcha.
So
I want to bring up a
you can
point
do
that
it.
Ninja brought up in chat.
Yes.
And this is going to be kind of something that is a little bit interesting. And I'm gonna make a point about it afterwards. He says it should be required that all players on the roster should play.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I would. There are
you
some
play in
cases
that
where
rule
that
and
makes
then
sense.
you
Rocket
play in
League
that
is-
rule and then it's elementary school all over again. To be honest with you, like that was the
that's
clause
the participation trophy.
That's the participation trophy. You're exactly correct because that's what I always had in my times of playing sports back in elementary and high school was like, oh, we got to make sure that so and so plays or the parent's gonna be mad. It's like this is an organization. This is a professional sport. This is something that the players themselves have to make the decision. But at the same time, if they don't have their subs playing and it goes to crunch time and they end up losing because they still need to play them, then that's their fault. This
It's
is something
up
I
to the
wish that
team.
they'd push more.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's up to the team, and I think that that's something that will be learned in Rocket League. Is good team management will be learned.
Right.
Like, I think that it's a good idea to play your subs, but I don't think it's a good idea to play them because you have to.
Well, okay. The other point against this is the fact that right now Rocket League does not have a standard roster size that you must fill,
Sure,
other
it's
than
5.
the three.
I was gonna
that's
say
required to
5's
play.
capped. No one
Yeah,
ever does past
5 is the
But
right
that's
size.
what I'm saying is they're not required to fill 5 spots. So
but
to
no
have
sport, no sport has to fill a squad.
Right.
Like name one.
I mean,
sport
I played
where
on
you
teams
have to
that
have a
had
full
6
squad.
players for a 5-man squad of basketball. It's just dependent on what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
There's Vogan, who decided to have 3. That costed him.
You're
So then there's
required
people
to
that
have a
just did
minimum of
extra
3.
stuff.
You can have a maximum of 5.
Right.
You do what you want in between. Just like with a football squad, you have a minimum of 11 and a maximum of 21. Like,
well, like
Right.
okay, I'm going to equate it real quick into another virtual league that I used to partake in, and still have some say in, virtual gaming hockey league, or VGHL. Now the rosters for that were a minimum of 10, a max of 12,
Yeah.
or max of 13. Sorry. Now the thing is team captains and owners and that they were told that you must play everybody on your roster at least 2 games a week. There were 8 games in a week.
I think that's a different situation because the number of games you're playing is vastly greater than it is with Rocket League.
Well, I'm talking about I'm talking about games in a match, not necessarily matches per se. You see what I'm saying? So
But the thing is that you're also talking about a game that, like, what's the team size in that? Is it 7?
6.
6. Okay, so for starters, your team size is twice as large, which means that like player-to-player synergy isn't as big a deal. It's still important, but it's not as big as a trio. Like 3 people playing in a team, they have to get on. 6 people playing in a team, you can have one guy not like another guy all that much, but it'll be fine because there's a 4-player buffer.
Right.
And at that point, it becomes much more of the average. If I could come up with a way to make 5v5 Rocket League actually work, I would love to move to that format because it removes a lot of the team problems. In terms of chemistry.
We need a much bigger map.
Well, yeah, and do you know what? I don't think that they shouldn't do it.
The bigger that we push to numbers, the bigger we're going to push towards soccer, aka football, for the people that just apparently don't think it's the same thing. But I think that it would be really cool to see that kind of aspect to it, because then you would actually start seeing legitimate strategy implemented further. And I think it'd be really cool to see. Like, I'd love to watch a 6v6, not an 11v11, because I'm already tired of watching regular soccer in of itself for 90 minutes at a time for one goal. But I would love to see 6v6 in the ability within 5 minutes and see what kind of magic you can run with that, because then that could be some serious team play. I would love to see that.
I think 5v5 make the maps 60% larger than they currently are.
Okay.
Have 10 boost pads, like boost orbs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, a smattering of boost pads, they can have like the same percentage or whatever. Like, maybe reduce down the amount of boost a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that it should
You
be a dome.
could do different formations at that point. You can do a whole bunch of different stuff.
I think it should be a dome as well, so that the ceiling in the center is significantly higher than the ceiling at the edges.
Yeah.
And
I can see that.
I think that would actually work, but I also think that at that point it should be an 8-minute game.
Make it longer.
Well, because it'll just take longer to traverse the pitch.
That's
with
fair.
the size of the pitches right now, you can make a lot of plays in 5 minutes. If you make that pitch twice as long, like, that's literally half the number of plays.
Well,
the same amount of time.
then you have the introduction of, say, like formations, because you have every once in a while, we mentioned like a 2-1, 1-2 formation with threes, but then you could do a 2-1, or you could do a 3-1-1, you could go a 2-2-1, you could do
There's all
basically
kinds of
anything
stuff
you
that
want
you can
at that
do.
point.
All kinds of stuff you can do. But at the moment,
yeah.
the game is so focused on mechanics, like, it's not ready for it. I don't think that Rocket League will be ready for it for another 3, maybe 4 years.
Something to keep in mind, Silent, I am assuming you have played it before. You've played indoor soccer, yes?
Yes. Come on, dude.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
Do you mean the 5v5, the 7v7, or the 9v9 version? Because I've also done
I personally have played.
indoor.
I personally have played competitively the 5v5 version.
Okay, the 5v5 is pretty much the standard.
Side note, being a goalkeeper for a 5v5 just doesn't seem as fun as you'd think.
Then the rest of the people involved were doing it wrong.
But anyway, like, in a sense, like, if we start implementing a higher number to it, then we'll start playing into the factor of actual, indoor soccer, basically. And it'd be kind of fun to see that, just because, I mean, I personally loved indoor soccer versus regular soccer, because you were closed off, you could play off walls, you could have a good time with it. So I always enjoyed that.
I
But
used to play 5v5 soccer with a group of people that could quite easily run up a wall and backflip. So
beautiful.
you can imagine. I mean,
Hardcore
it
soccer.
was weird enough watching us play badminton, guys. I have legit skidded an entire badminton court and like hooked a little shot over the net, like when nobody should have been able to reach it, and I ended up like half under the net and like with my racket out and dink, just as it was about to hit the ground, and won a play
That's
that way.
awesome.
Like I've
Right.
done stuff like that, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like I would love to see that. Like that'd be fantastic.
Right.
But again, I don't think the game is ready. Like mechanically, it's just too hard. And realistically speaking, like you guys know how hard it is to find two other people to actually play threes with.
Yeah.
To play good threes with was
Yeah, that's
how
what I
was
mean, right?
playing.
So,
But yeah, I
so
know what
where
you're
are
getting
you
at.
going to get the practice in a 5v5 environment? Like until we're at the point, which I foresee 3 or 4 years down the line, where we can have a 5v5 team compete competitively, consistently, that will be good.
Excuse
Yeah.
me, sorry for keeping that silent there for a minute. I wanted to actually check out and see what was going on in chat. I know MD
Yeah.
was trying to mention the fact of having more members per team in Rocket League is an interesting prospect, but I don't think that is the way that the game should go in terms of being a good esport.
Oh, that's
While
interesting
countering
because I
that-
think it only works as an esport. I don't think it works to have it in the main game.
He does have a pretty good point after that, though.
Mhm.
And I think Sernate was about to read it. I'll take it from here, though. One thing
Go
with
ahead.
having more players is that it is much easier to defend, which causes less goals.
I'm pretty sure if the goal is twice as big, that's still an issue.
Twice as big or have a smaller ball.
Keep the ball the same size. Like you have to have a
Okay.
certain size to ball size to car ratio, in my opinion. But certainly have the goal would be larger in that environment. Like when I'm saying 60% bigger, I mean everything about the map is 60% bigger.
Okay, that's fair.
Right.
Like
Before
60%
we get
longer,
too
60%
far
longer.
onto a tangent, though, we definitely got to move on to EU here.
That is true. We do need
yes.
to move on to EU.
What, the actual legitimate portion of this weekend?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, the bit where we actually watched Rocket League being played instead of some guy mopping the floor a la Bruce Almighty.
Great movie, by the way. Great. So yeah, but EU was definitely beautiful this weekend, and ultimately there were 1-1s all over the place along the entire day, with the exception of Summit going 0-2 again. Ultimately, I mean, at this point, it takes a miracle for them to possibly get into the top 6. You think?
Like you say that, but if they win their next 3 games,
Which is against Flipside, Northern Gaming, and
oh my dog,
Oh My Dog.
that is a big ask.
Yeah, I'm really thinking they
Flipside?
probably
Did they already
realistically
play
go
Flipside?
maybe 1-6.
I'm sure they already played Flipside, didn't they?
Not according to the tables.
Trying to check schedule here at the moment.
Yep, not according to tables. They're missing games against Flipside,
Oh yes,
Northern Gaming.
no, you're right. I
Yep.
missed them in the list.
That's fine.
So, that's geez, guys. Rawlings has just mentioned 2v2v2. Like Rawlings, I will talk to you about that at another
2v2v2
time.
2v2.
Yeah, we will talk about that at another time, sir, because
I
I already
actually-
have a map designed for that and everything.
I actually have a quick comment on that. There was actually this version that I run for basketball camps in the summer that is like one of my favorites. We have 3v3 groups, and those 3v3 groups, when they get scored on, another group comes in and replaces the one that just got scored on, and then you keep playing it that way. And basically, it's a King of the Hill, but it's instantaneous, and that'd be so cool to see in Rocket League, by the way. Just
But,
adding to that comment there.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about alternative game modes all day long. So if you guys want, we can do a special on that at some point.
I'm fine with
I'll
that.
bring pictures. I'm not kidding. So, so 3 wins should be enough to qualify for 6th, says DMR, and DMR is the stats guy for RLCS, so he
Yeah.
knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
Does
ultimately,
he? I'm kidding.
he's. I don't think he's wrong. I mean, it should be able to get 6th. I wouldn't go anywhere above 6th, looking at the tables the way they are right now for EU. But-
yeah, but sixth isn't that big an ask, and the thing is that it really depends on how they get those 3 wins, because the first tiebreaker is like who won in the series they played against the people. So like that. So if they tied with Oh My Dog, they then look at what was the Summit versus Oh My Dog. I'm pretty sure that
Yeah.
that's how it goes anyway. Maybe I'll check the rules on that. I might be wrong.
DM can probably confirm that for us, I'm sure.
Yeah, DMR definitely can. So he'll
Yep.
put that in chat in a second.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we'll see that.
Um,
But yeah, Summit say they get out. As of right now, the team just above them is Reunited, or used to be the Supersonic Avengers.
Mhm.
Now
You
they're
just said the
sitting-
team just above them was Reunited. Do you mean Oh My
or
Dog?
no, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Well,
Oh
Oh My
is
Dog
right
and
above them.
Reunited
I'm
are on the
blind.
same scoreline right now.
Yeah.
They have the same results. So
Yep,
but
I
they've
just
both got 4
was
games
making
left
sure.
to play, and Reunited
Yep.
has some of their hardest games out of the way. Because
Mm-hmm.
Reunited Mocked Aces is probably their toughest matchup, I would have said. Because
Mm-hmm.
Reunited are not good against people like much as you guys know I've met Doomsy and I think the guy's great and Snasky and Lamp are also fantastic players, but they're not good against a team that actually thinks about what they're doing ahead of time.
Right.
I mean, that's not their
Okay, so let's look
forte,
at
but-
just to look at it. Let's look at the future matchups for Oh My Dog and Reunited. Looking at Oh My Dog, they've got games against Flipside, games against Precision Z or Z, and Summit. Or actually, no, and
if 3 tie,
and
okay.
Reunited.
So it's head to head if 2 are tied, and it's 3. If 3 are tied, then it's win percentage. So
Okay,
a game win
Okay.
percentage, not series win percentage.
right.
So if you've been getting some 3-0s, you'll be much better.
Yeah, that's that, and I think DM Rawlings has it. Reunited will be shredded by Aces.
they
Yeah, I
already
think that's
play?
probably.
Oh no, they still haven't played.
No,
Yeah,
they
Reunited
have not.
is going to get shredded by Mocked Aces for sure. So oh, it was Precision Z I was thinking of. Another
Yeah, Reunited-
matchup that I don't agree with being Reunited being good, and mainly because Precision Z are like a slightly worse version of Mocked Aces. It's funny because it's true.
Do you think a lot of it's going to come down to the head-to-head between Reunited and at that point, Oh My Dog?
No, I don't think so.
I
think
wouldn't
Red Eye are going to
necessarily
drop further
say
down.
that, yeah.
You think Red Eye is going to drop further down?
I think Red Eye are going to drop further down. I think Precision Z are going to drop further down.
Okay.
Well, let's
But-
take a look at who else Precision Z's got on here. Hold on, let me just make sure.
Precision Z's got Mocket Aces, Oh My Dog, and Red Eye. You go.
See, Precision Z could lose those 3 games.
I could definitely see that.
Quite
I
easily.
think realistically,
Which
I think
at that
realistically
point
it's
puts
possibly a
them at
1
the
and
bottom
2.
of the table. Like, because if Summit wins 3 games, like, and Precision Z lose 3 games, then that's it, done. So
Yeah, EU is so hard to call.
oh, it really is. Like the gap,
Just in general,
the
I
gap's
mean,
so
there's
much
so many flip flops that could
closer.
still be done. I mean, 3-0 is the top record. 1-2 is only 2 games behind that at this point.
Good grief. It's just funny how we've seen, and this is like almost even going back to season 1, how you see that EU, just the teams are just like butting heads with each other all the time, and then just I feel like NA is just never as outstanding to see. Like I don't know if this is just me, but
Well,
I always
don't know,
enjoy
because-
watching Europe
because
more.
last weekend it was totally the other way around. Last weekend the NA teams were much closer than the EU teams. We saw far more game
Okay.
5s in NA last week in week 1 of league play than we did in EU that week. But this week we had it totally the other way around. Now the thing is, these series, they're clearly sculpted to some extent as to what matches we're watching. So that means, for production purposes, if nothing else, let's be honest. So if we see, the matches that we've seen so far, to some extent, like we've seen like 1, maybe 2 interesting matchups on paper per day. Would you agree? And if it
Maybe
was me
2 or
doing
3. Yeah.
I'd say on paper it's 1 or 2, because
Okay.
as you move through the first week you see 1 or 2 interesting matches. Week 2 you see 1 or 2 interesting matches. Week 3 you see 2 or 3 interesting matches, and then week 4 you see 3 or 4 interesting matches, and then you're in playoffs. Like you want week 4 to be the deciding Like, because
Yeah,
week 4
every game is going to mean something
Exactly.
week 4, and I'm really
That's
excited
it.
about
So
it.
you
Yes.
want everybody to be on as close to a level playing field in terms of being able to get the 6th spot at minimum as possible in week 4, because that makes the most exciting show.
Right.
Like, and at the end of the day, like league play, it doesn't matter what order the teams played the matches in. Like, they can do it in whatever order they want. It's
Right.
just do whatever.
At that point, just got to tally up the records at that point.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's going to be good. Mid-season classic, mid-season mayhem, as it's now
Yep.
being rechristened next weekend. How? What do you guys think?
It's gonna be bad, and I mean bad like chaotic.
In the best
and I'm
way. Yeah,
going to
you mean bad
enjoy
in the
it.
best way, for sure.
Organized chaos is, I think, the best way to put it.
I want to put this in perspective here, Curtis. Before we hosted you last night, we coordinated, Jasmine and I, to create Rocket League, Mario Kart Rocket League Edition. Yes?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
10 times boost, unlimited, and we were on Underpass, and we were with, what else was it? Rumble was activated, and it was basically whoever wasn't demoed at the end of it was the winner. So just the creativity that teams will be able to put into this, I think is just going to be great. I can just see somebody,
That sounds like an absolute riot.
It's terrible.
In a good way.
It's honestly terrible. But anyway, I think it's just cool that they're doing this. It's kind of a little bit of a sly way to throw in the, hey, by the way, the pros are playing mutators in Rumble. You should too, so that they don't have a dying hockey game like they would for everything or all the other game modes. Excuse me.
Okay.
But I think it's gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a little casual fun for both of them, and I hope that
it's gonna be a nice aside and kind of give them a chance to go into the break and just kind of not worry about things for a week.
I will be honest with you though. I really actually kind of wish that they gave that more to Rocket League Central itself, not necessarily to Twitch to host with Rocket League Championship Series, because
I disagree entirely. I disagree entirely. Okay. So the point of the mid-season mayhem is to refocus viewers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so forget, for instance, that you are Safernade and Curtis.
Okay.
And you guys are Rocket
I can
League
do that.
obsessed. Right? And you're just casual guy, plays maybe, 10 to 20 hours a week, if you're lucky. Probably solo queue, probably a lot of unranked. Maybe some private matches with friends. Maybe you're 15 and you mostly play around your friend's house, split screen. And you watch Twitch, you're watching the RLCS, and then this league stuff's on, and you're like, oh, what's
I'm sorry.
RLCS,
I'm just enjoying the
league play.
I'm just enjoying chat.
Yeah, we can all chat for a second. We're story time right now, guys.
I'm sorry.
You're supposed to be
I'm sitting
picturing
Indian
yourself as
style.
15
Let's hurry up
years
with the
old.
story, otherwise I'm gonna get stuck.
So league play is not that interesting to that viewer.
Right.
Because there's not really that much on the line. It's a very diluted form of the competition. The mid-season classic pulls a huge portion of the viewers that I'm sure there's a lot of casual viewers that tune in for one of the 4 weeks of league play. But everyone is going to tune in for the mid-season mayhem. Everybody who's heard about it is going to watch that, if they possibly can.
I mean, I'm definitely down. The thing
because
is,
nobody knows what's going to happen, and everybody wants to see.
Right.
You want to be like, oh, did you see what happened when, Kronovi had to deal with being on Rumble with mutators and there was money on the line and Rizzo was right there and blew him up? Yeah.
Well, okay. Let me give you something like this too. You're also pulling in a demographic of viewers that have never really this
I was leading on to that. Yeah, I was leading on to the people who have suddenly either picked up the game again because of Rumble or have bought the game because Rumble is now something fun to do with their friends, whereas before they didn't find the actual game fun enough to kind of take part in that kind of social aspect.
Right. Right.
Like that player who I was like, oh yeah, I'll play when I go around my buddy's house, after school or whatever. But then it's like, oh, now Rumble is a thing. I actually want to play that online with my buddy without having to be at his house. So I'm gonna actually get the game now.
Right.
So, 10,000 people have been watching the league plays, I think, on average per day. Something like that.
Yeah, roughly about 10K. Yep, it's
So,
maybe on average.
I'm
if you had to
forecasting
really
somewhere
put numbers
between
on,
30 and
9,500.
50K each day of the mid-season mayhem.
30 and 50.
Mhm.
I think that might be overshooting.
Really?
I think that
Are
might
you
be
sure?
overshooting for. Yeah, I really do. I think it could potentially double and go to possibly 18 to 20, but I think that 30 to 50 is a nice aspiration, and I would love to see it.
I am looking
But
forward to clipping this when it happens.
that's
And
fine.
watching
Hey, you know what? If you can prove me wrong with that, I have no problem with that.
I'm
taste
gonna
of crow.
tie you up in my basement and make you watch it like Stewie did to Cleveland and Quagmire with the help channel on this cable box.
Do I want to be in a British dungeon? I don't know if this sounds like a good
I'm gonna have to
thing.
dig out a basement first because we don't have those in the UK.
I know. That's why I was concerned. I was like,
My
first of
uncle
all,
and
when
aunt
I
have
drown,
one. Maybe I'll
second
tie
of
him
all,
up in there. That way I don't actually have to feed him either. They can do it.
Wow.
So
Oh my god. Do you know what it's time for?
I do, Curtis. It's
Sexy
time for you to
body.
do that voice forever.
oh no.
Oh, we've got with the rails. The rails are that way. We've gone off the rails.
Yeah, okay. But seriously, I see 30 to 50K on the viewership for that. I think that a lot of the casual Twitch audience is going to just be entranced by it. And MD Bros, I see what you mean. Like, would I like to watch top pianists play top music every week, or do I want to watch them try to play backwards and behind their heads? Personally, I prefer the former. Like, you say that, but when Slash played the solo for Sweet Child of Mine behind his head, everybody went nuts for it, and that became a viral video. So
That's fair.
I think that everybody is interested in seeing I think everybody is interested in seeing something that's just different. And 4 weeks of league play in a row is boring to the casual Twitch audience. I mean, the casual Twitch audience basically has ADHD.
DM Rawlings may have the dungeon that you seek. By the way, giving you a heads up.
A nice non-judgmental one. Yes, I'm aware of that one. It belongs to D-Pants.
But
But
all right.
so let's talk about Deception for a second.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about deception.
Well, they were quite deceptive, weren't they?
Well,
like it's not just a clever name. Like nobody thought they were going to be any good, and then they actually made the comeback record. They came back from 4 goals down and won a game.
yeah, absolutely. It was pretty much nuts. Deception played their. Hell, they played like crazy. It was awesome to see. I mean,
Their
and
gameplay definitely wasn't corrupted.
no, not at all. And you can't say there were
Could that
fireworks
have been
everywhere.
any more contrived?
Look, man, I'm just trying to follow in with these pun quotas because apparently you're lacking behind them. I don't know.
No.
I haven't sighed enough today.
Yeah, deceptively not bad, says DMR in the chat. He's not wrong.
I like Deception to sneak into they're my dark horse pick to sneak into the top 6.
Yeah, I guarantee they're going to make top 6. I will.
Okay.
I will
looking
sit
at
here
it,
and I will guarantee that to you. Do you know why?
Okay.
Because I think that it's going to come down to draws and whatnot. I think it's going to come down
tiebreak?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a 3-way tie for 6th place at minimum. We might see a 4-way tie, and
In which case, Rawlings is going to lose it.
well, yeah, I mean he will, but Deception 3-0'd, which means that in the case of a 4-way tie, they are far more likely to win than lose. And they haven't lost to a full sweep either.
Yeah, that's very fair. Their biggest loss is a 3-1 to Genesis.
Like they've never had a clean sheet. So
Right.
You know, they've gone to game 5 twice. They've swept a series, and they've, like you say, gone 3-1 to Genesis. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah,
you go.
it's going to be interesting for sure because I think they do move ahead of Vindicator. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think Vendetta/Vindicator are in for a fall. And take 3, I think you mentioned it in chat a little while ago that's their worst take. And I do think they beat Take 3 as well. So I could definitely see them. I don't see them making LAN.
Oh,
But
really?
and I hope they do.
Oh, really?
But I don't see
You
it
don't
happen.
see them making
Yeah.
LAN. Interesting. So in the situation where it goes to that 4-way tie, who do you think loses out?
4-way tie. I'm thinking
In a 4-way tie for 5th and 6th place, who loses out?
for 5th and 6th place. Give me the teams that you're thinking are going to be involved again.
Okay, so I think Deception is going to be in there.
Yeah.
I think Genesis is going to be in there. And
Okay.
I think Revival and Take 3.
The teams that miss out on that, I think at this point are going to be probably for 5th and 6th going to have to be, I think, Revival and Take 3. I don't know that. I don't think Revival's top 4 good or top. I think they.
You don't think
It's
they
so
get
hard to
it?
call though.
Yeah,
Trying to see,
so-
they've got Revival's got Exodus, they've got Energy, and they've got that is Vindicator left. That's I think take 3 are out regardless.
I think G2 is going to come back after the mid-season mayhem, and I think they're going to win all 4 of their series. And I think they're going to take themselves out of the 4-way tie that I foresee happening.
So you're thinking out of the mayhem,
But I
they're going to
think
be able to
Genesis-
come back in it.
I think Genesis is going to have some problems. And
Okay.
Revival Take 3 and
Well, it's Genesis
Exactly.
Exodus, it's Genesis G2, and it's Genesis Take 3. I think they easily beat Take 3. Talking about Genesis.
Genesis beat Take 3. Are you sure?
I think that, yeah, I think so.
Because I'm pretty sure they lost to Mocha NA, which is like the same players.
Yeah, okay, they did last season. They absolutely
The
did
thing
last
with
season.
Genesis is that if Pluto shows up, they do great, but that's not reliable.
Yeah, that's fair. The other thing, the other wild card, of course, is Espeon, but Espeon's been playing out of his mind.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, in the game of threes, you can have one good player, you know, but he can't literally be the god of everything.
Genesis
There's-
have been
there's still-
awful since Quinn left. Okay, I would say that is entirely not true. Please put a caveat
Yeah,
after that
no,
statement,
yeah.
Inanimate J, because Quinn leaving, like, no offense to Quinn, everybody knows I love Quinn. I've casted with him. He's a great guy. Spent lots of time chatting to him, but Genesis, no. Classics is such a better fit for being the piece that glues together. Yeah, Quinn definitely did anchor the team, Inanimate J. So I'm seeing Inanimate J justify himself in chat, right? Quinn did anchor that team. But Classics does a much better job of being the tie between Pluto and Espeon than Quinn ever did.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think Genesis has been all that bad, and quite frankly,
No,
I don't
but
think
they do think they
No.
have consistency issues.
No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I think more of that, looking at it, I think more of that had to do with Espeon than it did with Pluto.
No, I think that with Genesis, if Pluto shows up, they do great. But the
Right.
problem is that even if Pluto shows up, sometimes a player can not show up bad enough that they have issues.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because Espeon is very much a player that relies on plays from his teammates. Like, he doesn't actually solo play all that much. A lot of the time he'll pick up the ball in a weird spot and then do something great with it from a weird spot. Like, that's kind of Espeon's thing. That's why
Yep.
people latch onto him. It's why people why he's got this almost cult following. James Watt loves him. It's because Espeon can take a weird ball and do something good with it. But those weird balls have to get to him, and if those challenges aren't happening from Classics and Pluto, like, he doesn't get those weird balls, and like that's his secret sauce is having a weird situation, and a situation that nobody else would know how to deal with is probably the best way to describe it. He's like Lachinio. Lachinio does exactly the same thing. Lachinio ends up in these crazy situations and then does something that most people would think wasn't possible with the mechanics of the game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
So,
fair. Got a little off topic with Deception, but
yeah, Deception, I
ultimately-
think very, very deceptive, and that huge comeback fantastic. So
Yeah, I mean, making LAN, I think, is going to be where I put them probably out of the top 4.
oh, I think if they get playoffs, they could be a real upset team. Like they're only going to get stronger.
Yeah, they'd be a dark horse for sure, but they got to get into the top 6 first, and that's that. I mean, and the way it's going, they have a real shot at doing that. It's going to
They'll
be tough.
get into the top 6.
Okay.
I guarantee you that Deception will get into the top 6 because they're going to end up in a tie situation and they will win that tie because currently they've got the best score record. So
and
I don't
makes
think
sense.
that there's any way that the rest of the matches can play out without us having a 3-way tie for at the very least 6th place. And I think that in reality it'll be a four-way tie for 3.
What we should do, I want to see something that I'm going to give you guys a little bit of homework here.
Mm-hmm.
I already have like 4 chapters to do before midnight.
You can do this. You can do this. You can do this half an hour before we go live next week. It's fine. Let's do a mock-up of what we think league play standings are going to look like before the playoffs, and then circle your top 4 that are going to make it to LAN. Sound fair for each from NA and EU?
I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make you guys a nice little graphic.
That could be fun.
Yeah.
That
in fact, actually, if people want to tweet at us a similar thing at Rocket Power Rap on Twitter, then do so, and maybe we can have a little discussion topic because next week
I am fine with that. I'm fine with that. Aside from that, we do have a massive announcement coming next week. So definitely get on your hard hats and prepare for a crash landing next week on RPR. Going to have a big announcement with some fairly big players involved. So definitely get ready for that, and I'll leave it at a cliffhanger as far as that goes. Things are coming. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Half the planet disappeared above me. honestly, I feel like Sylvester Stallone and I'm on a mountain.
But the mountain's gone in Rocket League.
Oh, this is true. It's more of a sinkhole now if you listen to Morbo. Speaking of which, if you can take dark humor as far as your favorite game goes, you got to follow Morbo on Twitter.
Oh yeah, he's definitely on point.
He is
definitely on point. Before we take off here, I do want to get over to the community happenings throughout the week because RLCS is not the only thing going on in the Rocket League community. We all know that.
To us. Yes, it is.
Thing.
Yeah, let's touch on it, but briefly.
Yeah, let's we can make it brief. There's no doubt about that. Taking a look at it at the moment, a couple of notables.
I love how you prepared this beforehand and then sprung it on us.
It definitely was not a thing that happened.
So okay, well, while you figure that out, I'll talk very briefly about the fact that I'm very impressed with the EU teams, not very impressed with the NA teams as far as tournament preparation goes. The reason I'm impressed with EU is because 7 out of the 8 league play teams have been playing Gfinity EU 3v3 on a Friday. And we have not seen a similar showing in there's no, obviously like me and Curtis would love it if 7 out of the 8 NA league teams showed up to SPL, but they probably won't, and they're going to continue not to do so. And while I think that scrims are generally more valuable than tournament play, I think that there is something about tournament play that the more experience you have, the better you get at it.
No, I completely agree with that, and I'm actually in the same boat as you are. I wish NA would have their teams appear at more tournaments. Like we did have a couple of teams that did show up, and most recently we had Genesis playing in.
I thought I could make it without water, but I can't. So 1 sec.
Genesis playing in PRL. They were boost over ball, and then a couple other ones. Genesis beat VVV as well, but a couple of ones that are not in the same bracket that they currently are. The thing that I'm looking at is exactly what Silent is putting out there, is that there's just not any NA teams in the top 8 that are playing other than Genesis. And that is all I'm seeing. Genesis has been the only one that's been active outside of RLCS. So that's something that definitely look for that come LAN time, guys. I mean, ultimately, preparation is going to win you games, win you series. And look at TFD last season. You know, they had preparation like crazy on the EU side, and they make 4th in the LAN. A lot to do with that. So
Exactly.
And what I don't get is that there's so many more options in NA for tournaments to play in. Like in EU, you've got Gfinity and that's it.
Mhm.
In
Oh
NA,
yeah, no, and
you've
actually,
got-
Dpants is right. Vindicator's there too. Vindicator are playing as well, but they're not. I don't see them a whole lot.
Yeah.
To be fair. So anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that there's just so many more options in NA. You've got Market, you've got Curtis and I over at Shift Pro League. You've got
Yep.
the PRL even are doing 3v3. You've got Mythical doing 3v3. Like there's no shortage of 3v3 tournaments for these guys to be competing in.
Right.
And I'm just not seeing people show up.
Yeah, I'm trying to find where Dpants says that Revival played. I'm trying to find them. Oh, I guess they did play in PRL. Okay, I do see one. I do see 2 entrants for them. So it's 3 of the.
Oh, sorry. Just to answer Inanimate J's question regarding NA versus EU teams outside of RLCS. The EU tournaments are generally automatically favourable for EU teams because the EU primary time zones are only an hour apart, whereas the NA ones are 3 hours apart, which makes it a lot more difficult to run.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be part of it. That could be.
Yeah.
That could be just be what it is.
Yeah, Deception doing ESL, I'm not too terribly high on. I mean, ESL generally has a lower skill pool
But
as it stands right now.
Here's the thing, right? Is that if all these teams are playing different tournaments, and we're talking about 8 of the best teams there are, if they're not all playing in the same tournament, they're not getting the experience at the level that they need it.
Yeah, they're not playing each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's my
the
point,
big thing.
right?
Yeah.
If these are the 8 of the top 10 teams, say, that there are, like, why are they not all? You'd think that they'd end up just wanting to play each other in tournament settings. I mean, I know they're all playing each other in scrims, but I think scrims are great, but I also think that you just need to be able to get into a tournament mindset, which scrims doesn't service.
Yeah, no, that's very fair.
It's a matter of getting into crunch time when it needs to be. Like if you're actually playing in tournaments, you have this experience of either A, people watching you because it's getting casted, or B, just the sheer utter fact of knowing that something is on the line for it. And quite frankly, that's just knowing, you could scrim all you want and develop into a couple of things and learn replays, and they're very essential to learning some of the basic things you're doing incorrectly. But coming to a tournament, sometimes your mindsets play differently. And I've seen a couple different examples of different teams, like even on ESL side of things that played kind of poorly, but played super exceptional in scrims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's something that needs to change. The thing is, I mean, NA, yes, they won the Rocket League Championship Series last season. But
if you look at the top 4 placements for that, 3 of them are EU teams.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, ultimately, the preparation level for EU teams is on a level above where NA is, and it needs to change.
And I think that's why the scene in general is much closer than NA.
So ultimately, let's do this. Let's call out the North American teams that are in the RLCS. Get to tournaments not just with you running through a bracket. Get to tournaments with each other, whether it's GFin, whether it's Shift, heck, whether if it's Mocket, whatever, PRL doing 3v3 stuff. Get yourselves out there and keep playing, because if you're not preparing, you're not winning, period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's money on the line here, guys. This is a job.
Well, I guess that then there's, on the other hand, maybe the NA guys just have more active social lives.
And maybe that's true.
Maybe on a Friday night, they can't choose between the 2 3v3s because what they did was they chose going down the pub with their friends or whatever you Americans do.
Right. And maybe
went
that's
to a bonfire workup for some college football team or something. I don't know. Whatever. I watch TV.
Whatever we do over here. What do we do over here? I forgot.
I don't even know anymore, man.
Yeah, well, apparently,
nothing.
You're 8 years older than the average Rocket League player, I think, at this point. So
yeah, there's that. I mean, and Ninja points out Mythical. Mythical's got a Tuesday 3v3.
Mythical. Did you guys not hear me say Mythical?
Yeah,
I actually missed out Gfinity on the NA side. I've only cast that one.
Yes, I mean there's more options in NA than there are in EU. Get to playing, guys. It's not, it takes a couple hours out of your day, and ultimately you need the preparation
Yeah.
because right now you're getting schooled.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's it. I mean, the gap in NA is just so much wider than it is in EU. Like
Well-
maybe not in between individual teams, it's not so obvious, but if you look at top two teams, bottom two teams in league play, it's much more defined than it is in EU.
What I do find really funny though that when you look at NA side of things,
Is
when
Deepan saying he
first
has
RLCS
no
passed through-
fingers on one hand? Is that what he's saying?
No, he's not.
that's how it happens. But you notice that like most NA teams stayed together going into this RLCS season. But what's funny about this is that you notice that they just don't seem as highly competitive compared to EU side of things, which is like you would think that if they stay together, that means that they're going to continue to improve with each other, or just maybe the sheer fact that maybe they're just too lazy to get to a different team. So maybe that's just playing into that effect as well.
Well, it's interesting to me, right? Because on the one hand, like from an outside perspective, like the US is so huge on sport. It's like such a I mean, you guys will sit there and watch a 4 15-minute period football game, NFL game that is. And you'll sit there for like 4 hours in a stadium to watch it.
Yep.
Like not counting like getting to your seat, getting a hot dog, getting, whatever, and then then afterwards like going back out and stuff. Like in the UK, like if you tried to stop a football match halfway through a half to like show an advert or something on TV, which I know for a fact that you guys do with NFL games, you literally like in between the offense and the defense teams running up, you'll run an ad and like they'll all wait until the ad is finished before they get going.
I know.
Again. Like
It
if you
drives me
tried to
nuts.
do that in the UK, like you would have like you think we've got a football violence problem now?
Well, that's part of the reason why they put ads on the jerseys in EU or in football.
Yeah. I mean,
That's the very reason they do that is because they can't run the ads like that.
yeah. I mean, that's the other thing as well. Like, guys, come on, you can't play an hour of sport without needing two whole teams to do it. What is that?
Ninja said it best. It's the reason we sit there and we'll watch a 4-hour NASCAR race. Well, okay, not
That
wait.
does
Wait,
nothing but
but
left turn.
How do you know you're watching the NASCAR race? Because couldn't they just like clip one that just loop it? Like you'd never know. Let's be honest.
Well, okay. Here's this
If they
for you
did a
too.
couple of good jump cuts, like you would never know that it was the same race over and over.
Here's
and
this thing. Here's just quickly comparing the two between football and NASCAR as far as the televised version of it. In NASCAR, they'll actually like say 60 laps in, 120 laps in, they'll go to commercial. They'll go to commercial while the action is going on. That makes zero sense to me. I hate the way adverts work in the United States, and I really
Because
like the
they
way
pay them a crap ton, and they're going to at least diminish
yeah.
1 minute
Oh,
of
yeah,
their
no,
value
but
because
this is
they
the
pay
thing,
them the
guys.
value for it.
Oh yeah, but this is the thing, right? Is that we will show adverts during a football game.
it does happen.
No, but we will show adverts during a football game while the football game is still going on. Like there'll be an advert every 15 minutes, no matter what's happening in the football game. If that football game is happening on ITV, which is one of the commercial channels in the UK, there will be adverts, and you might miss a goal. You might miss 6 goals. And they'll rely on doing replays because the way that they broadcast football in the UK is that it's a minute or two behind the actual live game, so that they have time to queue up feeds and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they will show replays when nothing interesting, if it's pass from Jefferson to Johnson, back to Jefferson, back to Johnson, back to Jefferson, back to Johnson for like 5 minutes. They'll have shown like 6 different replays of other stuff that happened during the game.
Okay.
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah, I guess I wasn't as aware of that then.
yeah, but you
stuff.
guys will actually just
Because we're too
stop
American.
play and show an advert and then resume afterwards. Like that's the bit that's nuts. Like the people are there physically watching it. Like if you physically go to a football game, you can just see all of it. That's kind of the pull. So I think that there's just a very different approach to sport from US to EU, and I find it fascinating now that I speak to far more Americans and Canadians on a daily basis than I do Europeans at this point.
That's fair.
So
That's fair. Either way, I think ultimately, I think we've exhausted the topics for this week. What do you guys think?
I think it's 3 o'clock in
think-
the morning, so you have to be right whether I want you to be or not.
Yeah. Ultimately though, guys, a couple things. One, get your hats on for next week. We've got a big announcement coming up in the Rocket League community, and it's definitely something you want to tune in for next week, Monday, 8:30 Eastern. That is 1:30 in the morning for you Europeans out there, and it is 5:30 in the afternoon in NMJ time. So there's that. But with that, don't forget to follow on the socials, guys, at Rocket Power Rep on Twitter. Don't forget to hit the little heart on the top right of the video screen so you can follow us and get notifications when we go live. And yeah, that about covers it, no?
Well, Safernide, who are you?
You just said my name. That's me. But yeah, my name is Fernaday. Rocket League Central, Shoutcaster, all that other good stuff. The guy that's busy way too often.
Where can I first find you? Come
Of
on,
course,
speed
you
it
can
up.
find me on.
We're tying it up
You
here.
can find me on the wonderful Twitters at Fernaday_RL. You can see right there in the graphic, and then of course on the wonderful Twitches, twitch.tv/Fernaday, and you'll see me in plenty of times there.
Curtis,
Yep.
how about you?
Twitch, Twitter, Secretus3974 is where you're gonna find me on Twitch. I can link that in chat here. Ultimately,
They can see it on your
yeah,
Twitter,
that-
right?
yeah, it's on my Twitter. So just get over to my Twitter, RL_Curtis is where you're gonna find me there. It's all good. And then you'll see me casting for RLC, for Mythical at some points, for Shift. Basically, where there's casting, you'll usually find me trying to get into it somewhere. So, with that said, Silent, who are you?
Well, I'm Silent Echo. I'm the British guy, and I do casting at Shift and RLC mainly on Fridays right now because I'm doing summaries every week for the RLCS. So if you're very, very good, there might be a summary tomorrow for the NA play. It depends on whether I can actually sit there and pump out, 16 to 2,000 words, 1,600 to 2,000 words about it, or just 16 to 20. Maybe I could do it in that amount. That sounds much more doable. So you can catch that on rocket-league.com, and you can also catch that on Reddit. So just find me Silent Echo UK, and it'll be under my user thing, and I'll tweet it out. Also, same Twitter handle. I'm pretty much Silent Echo UK everywhere, because Silent Echo isn't actually all that uncommon a name. Who knew?
Unless he's not in the UK, and then he's Silent Echo wherever he is.
Oh, Silent Echo NA is actually my NA League of Legends account. Would you believe? Because I have Silent Echo UK for UK,
sure,
and
why
then I have
not?
Silent Echo EU for the other European region that I didn't know existed when I first signed up for League of Legends.
That's awesome. Either way, guys, for Serenity and Silent, I am Curtis. We're going to go ahead and say goodbye for now. We will see you guys next week for the Rocket Powered Report. Stay tuned. We got mid-season mayhem wrap-up coming up on that week, as well as we've got our predictions for league play and playoffs. So stick around for that. We'll talk to you guys later.